morning and thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. This is World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. And here are the top stories. NNPC reveals decision not to sell Port Harcourt refinery. In another development, Benue IDPs block highway, demand return to ancestral homes. So FCT small business owners decry rising costs, low patronage. In another development as well, we have a situation where power rotation debate heats up as North reviews Tinubu's scorecard. Now, Labour Party Secretary disclosed Peter Obi may lose opportunity to be candidate ahead of 2027. In another development, former aide to Peter Obi actually describes or discloses he is likely to return to PDP as party's owns presidential ticket to southern Nigeria. Labour Party youth leader declares 2027 presidential ambition. In another development, Presidency breaks silence on offering ministerial bribe to ADC. And on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, UAE begins construction of 7-kilometer water pipeline to ease Gaza's crisis. Details now. The world news begins with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) officially decided not to sell the Port Harcourt Refining Company. NNPCL has instead said it is committed to conducting an extensive rehabilitation of the facility and ensuring its continued operation. During a company-wide town hall meeting held at the NNPC Towers in Abuja by Ojulari, the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited announced the decision regarding the future of the nation's most significant state-owned refining asset, putting an end to weeks of speculation. Also, although there is an ongoing process being made on all three, the emerging outlook calls for more advanced technical partnership to complete and high-grade the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt refinery. While in Benue State, vehicular movement along the low-water axis of the Benue-Nasarawa Highway was brought to a standstill today as internally displaced persons, IDPs, staged a protest demanding immediate return to their ancestral homes. The protesters, believed to be victims of persistent attacks by suspected herdsmen, blocked both lanes of the busy highway for several hours, chanting, "We want to go back home." The protest caused disruption, leaving hundreds of motorists and passengers stranded. Eyewitnesses say the displaced persons, many of whom have spent years in crowded IDP camps, are expressing deep frustration over government's delay in restoring security to their communities. Security personnel were reportedly deployed to monitor the situation and prevent any escalation, though tensions remained high as of press time. However, efforts to reach the Benue State Emergency Management Agency and other relevant authorities for comment were unsuccessful by some correspondents who wanted to know what the situation on ground was, specifically in reaction from the government towards the IDPs protesting on the streets. Now, moving on to the Federal Capital Territory, some business owners in the Federal Capital Territory have expressed concerns about the high cost of doing business presently. According to them, they are also experiencing low patronage as many residents can no longer pay for goods and services like before. The business owners told the news agency of Nigeria Today in Abuja that the cost of doing business was making life extremely difficult for them. They said increased transportation, cost of living inflation, and weakened purchasing power were some of the challenges affecting their businesses. At the Akpo Fish Market, a particular individual residing there and a foodstuff dealer said the current economic situation had dampened the usual weekend buzz. Also, there are lamentations from vegetable sellers at the market that the cultivated attitude of selling almost below cost price just to turn over and attract more customers. They thereby urged the government to come to the aid of citizens and find a lasting solution to the increasing cost of doing business in the country. Also, the other members of the fabric business store around the area said the situation in the country had both affected their wholesale and retail businesses. According to them, the economy is biting hard, cost of transportation is killing businesses, and the government really needs to look into the area and find a lasting solution towards that. Now, the long-simmering debate over Nigeria's power rotation arrangement flared up again on Tuesday as northern political leaders, technocrats, traditional rulers, and civil society actors converged on Kaduna to assess President Tinubu's performance of 2 years. Now, the high-powered meeting convened by Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation and held at the historic Arawa House brought together some of the most influential voices from across the 19 northern states and the Federal Capital Territory. The two-day event themed assessing electoral promises, fostering government-citizen engagement for national unity, underscored both the region's weight in national politics and the urgency of the questions being asked about Nigeria's future under President Tinubu. Top dignitaries in attendance included the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and other service chiefs or northerners appointed by President Tinubu. Representing the president, Akume assured the gathering that Tinubu's renewed hope agenda was already delivering results. In what appeared to be a warning to northern politicians already preparing for 2027, Akume reminded the gathering that by the principle of rotation, the North turn would not come until 2031. He urged patience, saying, "Let us be patient. Nigeria will not cease to exist before 2031. When it's our turn, the nation will know." The Middle Belt Forum expressed agreement with Akume on the issue of power rotation in Nigeria. The national president of the Middle Belt Forum, Bitrus Pogo, said as long as the country practices rotation, which is a gentleman's agreement rather than a constitutional provision, Akume's statement that the North should wait until 2031 for the presidency holds water. Pogo emphasized that the agreement on rotation was initially made by the PDP, not the APC, but believes it's essential to respect such arrangements for peaceful transition and coexistence in a plural society like Nigeria. However, Pogo lamented that Nigeria's current situation is unfortunate due to the country's inability to transcend ethnic and regional divisions. While the Middle Belt Forum acknowledges the current power rotation, he disclosed that Nigeria's divisions are a legacy of British colonial rule and that a radical shift in approach is needed to foster national unity. Also, the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization Afenifere threw its weight behind Akume. The organizing secretary of the group, Kole Omololu, said they commended the SGF's firm and principled articulation of the necessity to uphold the unwritten but nationally recognized convention of power rotation. Akume's clarification, they said that the renewed hope agenda is not an empty slogan but a structured governance blueprint deserving commendation. Now, interim political scenarios unfolding in Nigeria. Factional National Secretary of the Labour Party, Umar Farouk, on Wednesday said Peter Obi may lose the opportunity to become the party's presidential candidate in 2027 if he continues to hobnob with the African Democratic Congress. Farouk, who made this statement in an interview recently, stressed that the Labour Party will give Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed a chance to contest for president. He stressed that the party's presidential ticket is not reserved for anyone. Expressing displeasure with Obi's association with the leaders of the coalition-backed African Democratic Congress (ADC, Farouk maintained that the Labour Party's 2027 presidential ticket will be contested. The factional national secretary declared Baba Ahmed, the party's 2023 vice presidential candidate, as qualified as his principal, Peter Obi. They said, and I quote, "Dati Ahmed is qualified to contest for the presidency as good as Peter Obi. So the seat of that candidacy is not reserved for anybody. It is open for a competitive contest. If Dati is willing to aspire for presidency and he wants to do that under the Labour Party, we will open it. Come and buy the form, mobilize his support, and get elected. The only thing is that if those people don't come back to them, they lose that opportunity because there's no way you will continue to romance with other political parties and then you still come back and your one leg is in the Labour Party. No, ab initio, you may be disqualified." Farouk's comment is coming barely a week after Baba Ahmed declared his interest in the 2027 presidential race should Peter Obi decide not to contest. Meanwhile, indications have emerged as to why the former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi is likely to return to the People's Democratic Party. The revelation comes amid moves by the former Senate President Bukola Saraki-led Reconciliation Committee to settle all aggrieved members of the People's Democratic Party, which may likely yield its biggest result with the return of Peter Obi to the party. Obi, who was the running mate to former PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar in 2019, decamped to the Labour Party in 2022. While in Labour Party, Obi contested for the presidency in 2023, came third behind Atiku of the PDP and the eventual winner, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, according to the Independent National Electoral Commission of the APC. Prior to the election, Obi and his team had harnessed Nigerian youth into the obedient movement, which almost blanked the entire country. 3 weeks ago, Obi was part of the opposition coalition that adopted the African Democratic Congress, but he has refused to officially dump the Labour Party, stressing that he was still a member of the party. Meanwhile, the PDP has been walloped in leadership crisis since its 2002 presidential primary election that saw 2022 presidential election that saw Atiku emerge as its presidential flag bearer. The crisis, which was linked to the party's failure to adhere to its zoning arrangement. The party was meant to zone its presidential ticket to the south, but its then national chairman hailed from the north, but that arrangement was never adhered to, a situation that led to the lingering crisis. Meanwhile, Peter Obi Media Reach has dismissed reports linking the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party to fresh political alignments. Now, you do know that a report emerged on Tuesday that Obi had been offered the role of National Organizing Secretary of the African Democratic Congress. Not long after, another claim surfaced on social media, claiming that the former governor has also denied plans to return to the People's Democratic Party. However, in a statement, Ibrahim Umar, spokesperson, said neither of the reports originated from Obi or his media office. Umar said Obi has been consistent in his stance on the ongoing coalition and does not need anyone to put words in his mouth. He also disclosed that the presidential candidate in 2023 has been a subject of speculation in the political space. Even he has remained focused on his mission for the establishment of a new Nigeria. Peter Obi, he says, has been unequivocal in his position in the ongoing coalition and does not need anyone to put words in his mouth. Umar added that Obi remains focused on his mission for a new Nigeria. However, he asked the public to disregard any statement not issued through Peter Obi's media office or official handle. Now, still on the Labour Party imbroglio, the national youth leader of the Labour Party, Kennedy Ahanutu, has declared his intention to contest the 2027 presidential election. Ahanutu, aged 41, becomes the first member of the party to publicly announce his interest in the race. Speaking during an interview on Tuesday, the Labour Party youth leader said Nigeria needs a generational shift and institutional reform. He said Nigeria's founding leaders, including Yakubu Gowon, who became head of state at 29, assumed power in their youth, a precedent that must be revived. While he admitted he is older than some of the Nigeria's post-independence leaders were at the time they took office, he said he is morally, academically, constitutionally, emotionally, and mentally fit to lead. And the possibility of stepping down if the Labour Party endorses another candidate, he said, and I quote, "Until such reality dawns before I can be able to answer this, because as a loyal party man, I am bound by the party's constitution and internal mechanism of the political party." Now, the presidency has denied allegations that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration offered ministerial slots to former African Democratic Congress National Chairman Chief Ralph Okenwusu in a bid to halt the formation of an opposition coalition. Daniel Boyle, Special Advisor on Policy Communication to President Tinubu, dismissed the claim on Wednesday in a statement posted via his X account. What Nwosu had during the ADC's 99th National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja just yesterday alleged that the government of Tinubu approached him with an offer of 3 ministerial appointments, one for himself and 2 others of his choosing, in exchange for dropping plans to reposition the ADC as a platform for opposition figures ahead of the 2027 general elections. But Boala described the claim as false and baseless, stressing that no official in the current administration has the authority to promise or grant ministerial appointments except the president himself. Boala further challenged Nwosu to name the individuals allegedly involved in the offer, stating that such a serious claim should be accompanied by specifics. You're currently listening to the World News at 6, right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment where we get to look at issues affecting Nigeria's politics, specifically stories read out on the World News at 6. To kindly stay with us. You're still listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Barrister Eze Eruche, thank you so much for joining us on the World News at 6. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, FCT traders are complaining of low patronage, especially small business owners. They are not happy with the current situation. They say they're getting low patronage and some of their goods, especially the consumables that are perishable, are actually, getting spoiled. No one is patronizing them. They're also decrying rising costs and, the fact that there is low demand and that the amount at which they buy their produce has actually increased. So in this particular regard, they're calling on the federal government to help and ameliorate the situation. But Barrister, in the same vein, we saw some videos of certain actors, Nollywood actors on a particular campaign vehicle, giving people 500 naira, telling them to trust President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration that he will fix the problem. In fact, they were hailing the FCT minister, saying that he's doing so well, that the president is doing so well. They should be patient and trust him. Also using the opportunity to campaign ahead of 2027. We saw Nollywood actors like Zach Orji. We saw another individual as well who used to be a comedian. I've forgotten his name. I'm trying to remember his name. He's been kind of popular. He's also a government appointee, and a host of other Nollywood actors who were in that particular campaign bus with the theme on inscription, Tinubu will fix it, trust Tinubu. But we're hearing the market. This is the streets, and this is not just in Abuja. Across board, there are complaints of low patronage. There is insecurity thriving, but the president is patting itself in the back and saying that President Tinubu is doing what other presidents did not have the courage to do. How do you look at this situation?
Well, anytime you hear this government make that comment that Mr. Tinubu is doing what others did not have courage to do, what does it really mean? Is it the courage to pauperize the people? Is it the courage to destroy the economy? Is it the courage to foist insecurity on the masses, on the people? Is it the courage to destroy and further disintegrate Nigeria? I mean, the so-called Nollywood stars you call for, these are hungry charlatans. Forget whoever they are. They are so debased in the sense that they realize that what they are doing is wrong, but because of the hunger which is afflicting them, they just have to go ahead and go on the streets distributing biscuits and 500 naira notes. What does that buy? Can you take a bus with 500 naira to anywhere or anywhere over a reasonable distance? So the reality is this: Nigerians are becoming more aware that this government is a government rooted in fraud, rooted in deceit, rooted in trying to just further denigrate Nigerians. And I don't know for how long we can continue with this kind of government. This is a government that right from day one, in 2023 when they were elected, they began to talk of the next election, 2027. They didn't even bother to rule or to govern or to administer the country for one day. It's all been about elections. Now they are shamelessly rolling out trailer loads of their supporters or their paid highlands on the streets, all in a bid to continue to mislead the country. But I'm sure Nigerians are getting wiser.
Are you sure? Because
I saw the video.
on the videos that we saw, I mean, the person I was trying to remember was Sheyi Law. I think he's also a special advisor to the Ondo State government. We saw them giving money. What would you think that is? And based on INEC's schedule, this is not the time for such an activity. And why is it that the works are not speaking for themselves? Rather, it's like you're trying to impose on people by saying that the administration is working. So if it is actually working, we do know that 2 years may not actually be magical enough, but the basics ought to have been met. And if Nigerians are decrying that that is not the case, but the records are giving something else, then how do you expect the people to trust whatever it is you're saying? And then 500 naira to do what?
We have to realize from the onset that Nigerians don't trust this government. Nigerians did not vote these characters into office at the federal level. They know, Nigerians know. That is why even the crowd, the people on the population on the streets were just looking at these charlatans deceiving themselves. And those who have access to it will collect, but they know this government does not represent Nigerians. And then what is going on now? Why wouldn't the EFCC, for instance, even step in? Why wouldn't INEC caution these characters who are jumping the gun? Because the whole system is messed up. But I believe that Nigerians are just bearing these characters, and at the appropriate time, hopefully not beyond 2027, they'll be told to go to where they belong to, which is in the abyss of history.
Barrister Eze 8 buildings collapse as flood takes over Benue streets. Now, police also arrest a woman killing and dismembering a pregnant nurse in Anambra State. In the same Anambra State, a young boy who sells fish, it's a very disheartening situation, was 2 days ago abducted in his home. He wasn't in the nightclub. He wasn't on the road at a time that he was not supposed to be. He was in his home, and individuals who were unknown stormed his home, shot him on the leg, abducted him, and killed him. Now, that young man, a couple of persons, I think it's called Fish Connect or Fish Magic or something like that. Very dark man was actually crying on social media on his ex account, saying that this young man promised to send him some fish and reached out to him. He saw the post on another social media account of a popular social media influencer. It was very disheartening. So, barrister, young persons are suffering, trying to work hard, but you're not safe. So these are issues that ought to be addressed, both by the government of the day, by the governors of the states, that this insecurity is prevailing. And the presidency is saying that they are doing okay and that the president will fix it. If these things are happening, killings are taking place, ritual killings by young adults, young teenagers, persons who are hustling and working hard are being killed in their homes, what are we talking about?
The reality is that crime is not new. I mean, people have been committing crimes. It's not just in the southeast. It's everywhere, northeast, northwest, all over the country, even all over the world. Crime has been in right from the time of Adam. But unfortunately, the strain in this country now is that we don't have the effective police mechanism to curtail crime, to even investigate crime, or to even nip crime in the bud before it occurs. But the problem is with the state authorities. The state authorities, the police that is supposed to checkmate crime, is not well equipped. It's not even well structured. We have an Inspector General of Police who resides in Abuja. And from Abuja, he keeps on dishing out appointments to his cronies as commissioners of police. You see a man who come into Imo State or into Lagos as commissioner of police who has no idea what the state is, what comprises in the state, and you're making the head of the police. What do you expect? Of course, it's going to be a disaster. So the Nigerian structure, the Nigerian police structure, the Nigerian security architecture is geared towards failure. It's not a bottoms-up approach. Rather, it's an up-down approach, and up-down can never address security issues. And now, do not try to say it's only in the southeast. Crime occurs everywhere, and we who live in the southeast, we know that this level of crime in the southeast is actually minimal. And even when
it's not minimal, Barrister Eze, it's not minimal.
No, I'm coming. When you mentioned one boy who was killed, another person was killed, do you know how many people were killed in Lagos or in Kanu or in Sokoto in one day? So the reality is when you overblow a particular issue, it appears as if
you think it's overblown, Barrister Eze Eluche, from the reports we've gotten?
Overblown. Why I say it's overblown is that you'll be in a local government area from close to what no crime happens. So, but the serious crimes that happen when killings occur, when armed men block streets and kill people or kidnap, we suspect and we believe in the South that it's mostly security agency led. Because with the number of checkpoints we have all over the Southeast, for instance, it is impracticable to have a crime committed and then the people who perpetrate the crime drive off and nobody stops them. So somebody's responsible. But like I said from the onset, crime is interred in man. The criminality is part of human nature, right from the time of
it has gotten worse now. It's an everyday activity. The death toll has increased. Bloodshed on our soil has gotten worse. If it is a political thing, if it is a political venture, is it not detrimental to the health of the nation? If these things are not called out, if there are elements in these communities doing this, can't they be called out? Are the person who is in charge of security, is he unable to resolve it, or is it a deliberate, calculated attempt to prevent economic opportunities to thrive in regions that have complained of being isolated from the federal character largesse?
I have told you the answer to this question is the security, the police. I mean, the other security agencies, they are not structured to address these crimes. And the reason is the unitary system that Nigeria operates with the security agencies. Every local government, every community, every town should have a police. In the US, for instance, every college, every community, even some companies have registered police that actually take care of the security of their area. But in Nigeria, you only have one single police based in Abuja. So how can you secure the environment? It's not possible. So these crimes will continue to occur. And the root cause, the solution remains to decentralize the police, allow communities, allow villages, not just state police, for goodness sake, allow villages to operate their police force. And then when any crimes occur, the village police will have to pick the person up in advance. That's how it is done in other countries, in other federations. But here in Nigeria, you have only one single police force that is incompetent and does not allow us to operate.
All right, Barrister Eze Eluche, thank you so much for joining us on the World News at 6.
Thank you very much.
We sincerely do appreciate your input.
Okay.
And just before we go, the United Arab Emirates has begun construction on the major pipeline to carry desalinated water from Egypt to southern Gaza. Technical teams sent by the UAE have started transporting equipment needed for the project. Now, the nearly 7-kilometer pipeline aims to help alleviate what WAM described as a water crisis in the Gaza Strip. Earlier this week, COGAT, the Israeli Defense Ministry body overseeing civil affairs in the Palestinian territories, said construction of the pipeline would begin in the coming days and was expected to take weeks. And that's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Machuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.